Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. It's still Rappy Done right here on Rappy TV, and my name is Martha Alu. And with me here, two lovely people. Of course, I always like to introduce them as guests, but they're not guests, you guys. Speak for yourselves.
Ladies first, please.
We have,
Then we're on the new Mazaka here.
and then we have
Victor
Ake.
Ake, of
All
course.
of us are right here on the Girls Hangout segment of Rappy Dawn for these Wednesdays. And one of the major things I love about these Wednesdays is the fact that we get to draw live what should I call it? Live experiences. We get to talk about things that have happened in the social space that we can give our 2 cents on, just so that people can also learn and get you into some sort of critical thinking about what you would do if you find yourself in situations like that. Now, today we're having a conversation about boundaries, and this is such an important conversation, seeing as the year 2026 is a year that came with a lot of people. Every new year comes with people, making new resolutions of who they will cut away from their friends group, who they will leave, who they will add. Conversations like this start up, and it's important that we know what boundaries are and how to maintain our boundaries. This is a conversation we'll have this morning. But some other people have had these conversations before now, and they made some very salient points which we'll want to reiterate here this morning. So let's go watch their videos, and when we get back, we'll keep up the conversation.
Bring the right people close and push the wrong ones out. They don't scare away love, they filter out the noise. They don't create distance, they reveal who's willing to meet you with respect. The people who leave when you set boundaries were never here for you, just your access. The right ones don't get offended, they get it. Boundaries don't block love, they protect it.
All right, there you have it. That's what Jay had to say about boundaries. In fact, the other video which we will play in the course of the show would be about, friendship boundaries as well. We talked about it this morning, where we said, friendships also require boundaries, even if some of us might agree or might not agree to that term. So let's get into the matter with our guys in the studio. So what do you guys think about boundaries? Boundaries in general. Why are you laughing? Why are you guys laughing?
I know you're waiting for who's going to go first.
Any, mini, money, mo.
Yeah.
Anybody goes first.
You want to go?
Well, I could say boundaries is you giving clarity as to who you are, what you choose to accept and what you choose not to accept, what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and being able to give that clear mark as to this is what I like, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. And having to make sure people around you respect all of that. So,
That's right.
yeah, I think
That's boundaries.
Basically, I think that's just in definition. That's what it is. Just having that personal rule on how people get to interact with you, without crossing into the place of discomfort, the place of disrespect, the place of stress. Because there are certain ways people have conversations and communications with you. If it's not properly checked, you'll now see that you're moving this whole thing, this relationship will get, it'll become stressful. I'm talking about just even guy to guy. There are some relationships that if you don't put it in check, it becomes stressful, it becomes disrespectful, it becomes so uncomfortable. So having those invisible rules, those ground rules on how you relate, interact with people is what boundaries is all about. And just to go a bit further, friendship should have a balance, right? It's okay to be friends and still say no to people. It's okay to be friends,
which is one very big issue right now.
Very true. People have issues on saying no. People think that because we're friends, everything you ask me, I'm gonna say yes to you. Everything you say to me, I have to agree with you. No, that is not true friendship. True friendship is about calling each other out. That ability to say no, that ability for me to speak to you directly. Tell you how this thing is, without fear or favor. Because if I cannot tell you that as my friend, then it means that there's already a crack in the level of friendship that we have. Yeah.
Yeah, and then add to that, because I have also, I mean, we said it, girls talk most of the time is, you know, based on experiences and all.
Yeah.
I've personally seen people do things not because they wanted to do it, but because, and sometimes it's not even peer pressure. It's like, just as you said, that fear of saying no to their friend, even when it's something they don't want to do, even when it's something against, you know, their personal. But
Beliefs,
again,
yeah.
I feel like we're talking about boundaries. It takes someone who even know what they want for themselves. You know, self-discovery. I know we've spoken about self-discovery sometime last year. It takes someone to know yourself, to now even be able to identify what works for you, and then be able to now put those boundaries. So again, there are some people who we could say don't even have boundaries at all, because they basically don't even know what they want for themselves. You know. So, but of course, this conversation it's, you know, for people who have boundaries, and hopefully it also rub off on people who actually don't have any, to see the need to put those in place to make sure, you know, people don't overstep and go beyond, or even take you out of, you know, the path you are trying to put out for yourself. Why do you seem inspired?
Well,
you keep looking like, okay,
I'm supposed to be inspired. I'm supposed to, that's the idea. I mean, it's not just for people watching. I too get to be inspired as well. But you see, the matter of boundaries, I must have drummed it in your ears a lot of times. But the matter of boundaries are such important things that need to be put in place. And this is how you create your identity as a person, by the boundaries that you set for yourself.
Yeah.
And you talked about lived experiences, and I would say that building boundaries became such an important thing to me, I think, in 2023.
Okay.
Now, this boundary was for my workplace at the time. As an individual, we all know our capacity to handle things, especially when it comes to emotional things. Some people can deal with physical stress, but they do not do well with mental or emotional stress. And that was what I found myself at that time. Mental, emotional stress, crashed out and everything. You know, I had gone through a loss that was hitting at the time, and I was like, you know what? And when I had experienced that loss, I quit my job, and I was like, you know, I'm not in the mental space to be able to be productive or to contribute meaningfully to this organization anymore. It is only fair that I take a step backward, and I walked away from the organization. But at the time when I was trying to come back into the workspace, you know, it was a lot for me, because now I'm trying to balance my emotions and putting my emotions in check and actually delivering on the job that I have to do. But I feel like this is one of the places that my boundaries were tested. I didn't have any boundaries, as a matter of fact. So say I was employed for a particular thing, and I did like a whole lot of other things. Now, when I say a whole lot of other things, I'm not talking about a professional setting. Imagine someone hiring you to be a manager, and at the end of the day, you end up making burgers. You are employed in McDonald's. You know, that's the level of shift in your description. But if as a manager you say, okay, you need to bring your impress, you need to go restock, you know, these are still within managerial confines that you might be able to do. But now moving on from there to actually cooking, to actually doing other stuff, that was a lot of boundaries. My emotional boundaries were tested, where words like, you know, the F word was used severally, you know, and this broke something while it also built something. It broke something in the sense that I started to question my every move as to whether or not I was fit to be there, whether I was capable of carrying out my responsibilities, whether I was even deserving of being in that room in the first place. And all of these things happened because I didn't have boundaries. Boundaries would have enabled me say, I'm sorry.
Can't do this.
Can't do this. This is what I want to do. This is the portfolio I'm building around here. Boundaries can also make me say, this does not align with my personal goals, and I walk away from it. But if you don't put boundaries in place, people dish you anything and expect you to accept it, because you don't know what you would accept or what you would not accept. So when we talk about boundaries, for me, it's an even deeper conversation because of my lived experiences and what I've seen lack of boundaries take away from people. When you have boundaries, like Jay Shetty said, it's easy to align yourself with the people that understand where you're headed and where you currently are. But if you lack those boundaries, how do you know who is supposed to be your friend? How do you know who is not supposed to be your friend? How do you know what relationships should transit from just being colleagues to friends and from people from church to friends? How do you know to balance those relationships if you don't have boundaries?
And that brings me to this particular quote as well. Boundaries are like the foundation upon which standards are built, values are built, basically. Just a quick story. I have amazing guys as friends, as pals as well. And one time I was having a conversation with one of our guys, and he just newly got married. And in the course of the conversation, he then made a statement, a joke. Then that's what it is. As at that time, it was like a joke. And like, wifey travel, this and that. It's time to just go and play around. And we laughed over it as at that particular time. But before that call ended, we went back to revisit that particular conversation. I'm like, yes, this was a joke. But based on the way we have built our friendship, the values that we say we have, this was not even supposed to pass for a joke. So we revisited that particular conversation and we made sure that we trashed it out and ensure that whether we're playing or we're serious, this kind of consent, this kind of encouragement will never be found amongst us, because we are from that school of thought that loyalty, fidelity is a thing and is a must. So we don't get to joke about infidelity or encourage one another to be infidel, you know, in their relationship. The concept of that standard and value, you know, brought on board the boundaries as well. You know, now boundaries helps you to shape your life in a way that there are certain things that you would never do as an individual, because you've come to understand the realities of your life and your personality. But without those boundaries, it becomes a problem.
Anything is acceptable.
You know, now when I push it again to friendship, you know, as we grow older, we also get to realize that friends or friendship is beyond those that are available for you to hang out. And what I usually tell nenas, you know, taking a glass of juice and all of that, you know. But in the context now, friendship is beyond having friends that you hang out with just for a bottle of beer or whiskey and all of that. No, friendship is beyond having people that are constantly available for you. But it's about having individuals that can actually show up for you in times that truly matters. You know, that you might be in the same industry, but you guys are actually thriving, or someone is thriving more than you, but you are celebrating the person genuinely, you know, without any form of bias in your heart or jealousy, you know. And what helps you to live that kind of life is because a certain level of boundary has been created, both for yourself, first of all, you know, in a way that this is the way I ought to live my life. These are certain lines I shouldn't cross, right? And these are certain habits, characters, attributes that I'm supposed to work on, outgrow. You know, and that comes with intentionality. If you're not intentional about setting personal boundaries, you know, within your own self, first of all, it might become difficult for you to set a boundary or set boundaries for others.
And that's so important.
Yes.
If you cannot set boundaries for yourself. So some of us say now that we don't want to eat until we don't want to eat after 5 p.m.
Yeah.
You know, these are boundaries. We play with it, but if you are able to honor your personal boundaries, you see, the people that don't like boundaries, they hate people that have boundaries.
Yes.
And you know, you might be thinking you're a very good person until you are interfaced with people.
Right.
I'll give you an example. So I was speaking to a friend at one time, and when I was having this conversation with this friend, and I said, look, when I am with people, right, say that there's a habit I have, or there's something I always would do, like, let me say, maybe I always will eat at 2, right? Yeah. Or I will always take a cab somewhere. Just an example now, like I have that habit. And then by 2 o'clock, I'm supposed to go eat, and my friends are there, and we all come together. That habit I've developed does not let me ask, where's your money? Where's your money? Where's your money? Everybody bring your money. We all pay for what we eat. So sometimes, if maybe I have it, I can just decide and say that, let me just pay, because whether you're here or not, I'm still going to eat at 2.
Yeah.
Whether you're here or not, I'm still going to do this. So it's not like an extra burden. It's something that I naturally will do, right? And then I noticed that I have this friend who always, when you go out, she's like, we're going out, bring your money. or yes, we're going to this place, we need to book a ride, bring your own portion of the money. And then you start getting upset and you'll be saying, but I did it.
I didn't ask nobody.
You see, those are her boundaries.
Right.
Although some people can,
I didn't know that could count as a boundary. But
yes,
okay.
because you don't have, yes, because you don't have boundaries does not mean you don't have financial boundaries.
Yeah.
Because you don't have it doesn't mean another person should not have it. If that's your nature as a person, that's okay. Nobody hurts you for being the way that you are, as long as it's not a threat to your own growth as an individual. But don't say now that because that's who I am, somebody else should do
be
it.
like that. So.
Those persons, there are people that have, when it comes to their finances, they have boundaries, very strict boundaries. Although I know sometimes they can be unreasonable with those boundaries, because you would see something that maybe is like 1,000 naira, and you're like, why do you need to collect everybody's contribution for something that's 1,000 naira? You could have just paid. But these people have boundaries of how much they spend on a weekly basis, how much they spend on a monthly basis. They are the ones who will tell you, this place is off my budget, I can't go.
Simple.
Yeah.
And then you'll be like, but you're earning money, you have money, what do you mean by you can't? Those are their boundaries. So because you get triggered by somebody's boundaries that they've put, that's because you also lack boundaries. The moment you start to put boundaries for yourself, you'd understand why people do what they do.
Okay.
Sorry, you remember one time where we had to get a videographer for something, you know, and the guy said, you have to give me 70% upfront. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? But you know me, why do I have to pay you 70% upfront? As I progressed on that journey, I realized that the person was 100% confident of the values that they were going to give.
Of course.
So they are not negotiating their values with you. I have the value, and with value comes reward. I'm collecting my reward because I'm not negotiating my value with you.
Of course.
But you are upset because you as an individual will go ahead and do the job without actually even collecting the money. So you see, lack of boundaries, hate boundaries.
So I want to ask a question, right?
Ask.
Should there be, of course, when we say boundaries are different, but should there be a place where you get to, where you adjust, you make some, you know, adjustments to these boundaries of yours for probably like certain people? Of course, there are some that would be like, you know, but now let me come back to this person in quotes that you spoke about, probably because I know the person. So in a situation like that, shouldn't there be a room for, you know, adjusting? Okay, on a normal day, I would collect my 70% up front. But I know you. And I know you won't run away with my money.
You sure?
And I'm trying to also impress you.
All right.
Okay, so for your sake, let me just make. Because I feel like being too stiff, of course, boundaries are good. We've established that, you know, they help you put things in place, even in your life and your friendship and circle and all. But shouldn't you also be in a place of adjusting those that can be adjusted, that won't particularly, you know, affect? Because again, I've seen instances of people who still hold on firm to, oh no, this is, and it ends up ruining some certain level of relationships, you know, and all that could be beneficial. You guys don't seem to buy my idea.
No, but,
it's something I'm bringing up here, because I feel like we should also.
We all know that some leaders don't know the experience we're talking about.
No, just gist on it. Just gist on it.
Inside gist, but let's just give context.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just so we don't keep saying the person. So I had this project I needed to do. And I knew that this was the person for this project.
Right.
Because, of course, I had seen track records of what the person was doing. And I said, let's work together. And this is a close ally. Right?
Good. Close
ally. Right? And the person goes on to demand that I need you to give me an upfront of 70% before I go on with that job. Was I upset? Yes. Because you know me. You know that once it comes, I'm extremely careful when it comes to money, because that's the quickest way to soil your name.
Yeah.
No redemption from that.
Right.
So I was expecting that, listen, you know me, I know you. You should have been able to compromise at some point. Yes, I agree that there's a place for compromise. But I promise you that I wouldn't have been upset with the guy.
If the outcome wasn't what it was.
As much. Because look at, one thing you must never do, and if you follow podcasts of Diary of a CEO, all of those podcasts, all of those books, you know, you would see one thing. Never mix business and pleasure.
Exactly.
Never, ever mix business and pleasure. That's the most disastrous thing that you could do. And I was sharing with you from the start of the year. This affects your pricing. You can no longer give people the price of what you actually are worth because you're like, okay, this person is nice. Let me give value first before I give money. It's the same thing with relationships.
But don't you think this is also strategy? Because we're also looking at business.
So I think
business. You guys should not get me wrong.
No, I get
there
you
are times where
I get you right. I get you right.
relationships where you need to like stand firm. I get you, but there are also times where you like need to prove. Well,
You know,
I feel like you guys are not getting.
No, we do get you.
Because there's also a
It's
strategy
compromise you are
part
talking
to it.
about. Is it not compromise you are talking about?
Yes,
At some
but
point,
compromise
the
almost
person
to
should
sound
be-
more negative than what I'm trying
It's
to
not
say.
negative.
Yes, it's
not
compromise.
negative. You
in
can't
a way.
compromise every time, and you can't force people to compromise when they
Exactly.
don't want to.
But is it okay to compromise from time to time?
Yes, you can.
Good. That's just what I wanted.
What if
But there are
it was?
certain,
What if it was?
certain levels
What
of
if it was
compromise
with
that you
you?
might not want
At
to
least
do.
you're
What
allowed
if it was
to,
with me
right?
that
Yes.
he decided that he didn't want to compromise? I don't get to choose who you compromise for.
Exactly.
No, you don't.
So there are also levels of non-negotiables. Certain people have the non-negotiables, right?
Good, which was what I said from the beginning. There are some things that you shouldn't even have any, but there are some
Right.
certain things that you should be in that position to, okay, I could, relax a bit.
How do you know
on
he
this.
doesn't do that?
I don't know. No. So now this conversation is not just on that case scenario. Right?
Yeah.
We're also trying
Many
to look at on a
others.
bigger, exactly, because we've also seen people who will still hold on from and say no, this. But that's what I'm saying. Shouldn't there also be a
Stiff
part, exactly, a part where you relax a bit and say, okay, for this one, let me. That was
This
just
is like-
and I feel like okay.
Flexibility is a thing. You understand? Yeah. But flexibility with caution. You
Yes,
understand?
of
'Cause
course.
remember,
you still have your guard up.
you have your guard up. You're setting boundaries. You're setting standards. You're setting values. You know, or the standards and values the standards, the boundaries are based on values.
Yes.
and that's
And
why
experiences.
and experience is good. And that's why if you're being flexible, then you have to be very cautious on how flexible you are.
You are.
Because sometimes when you compromise once, certain individuals now capitalize on that and say, but you compromised the last
That's
time.
how it should be.
You know, that's
So I don't think compromise should not come without your sense.
so that it happens a lot of times. Okay,
How
clear
do you
example.
know that the person that you are compromising?
Let me
I'll
put
give you
it-
a
For example,
Hold on.
I feel like making the adjustment or compromise should only come once. So I'm doing this
so that becomes
first.
yeah.
No.
Moving forward. And it's not like for everybody.
No, that's it now. So again, remember, if you're doing this first for me, right? I might come back tomorrow and say, do it again for me like this.
that's
now.
what I'm saying.
Because the attachment
That's
mentality
what I'm
comes on
saying.
board.
That's
So
what I'm
the point-
saying. The first one was for a reason.
Yeah.
The second one,
You
I'm
could- you-
establishing the fact
you
that,
could also
hey,
have a reason
this
for me
was,
in the second one.
No.
Right, that's why we
then
say
you
one-
are not strict with. That's
Go-
what I'm
no,
saying.
when we come to
Compromise should
business
not now
now.
come with you being, or you said it. Compromise should come with caution.
Exactly.
So I'm compromising for you doesn't mean I don't know what I'm doing.
Exactly.
In fact, it's a calculated move. I'm doing it intentionally to get your attention. Once you've seen, I mean, now coming back to this guy, in as much as it's like the other way around, but she saw his work. She saw that, oh, he was actually worth it.
Yeah.
And moving forward, anything he say, maybe if we say, give me 100% payment, should we drop
She'll
it?
pay.
Good. So now this compromise I'm saying is it's a calculated move. You know that, oh, I'm aiming for something. I'm doing this for you for first. Second, you've seen what I can do. And then I tell you, this is what I'm asking for.
Okay.
This is it. So if you are not taking it, at least you know that I can actually deliver.
It's a good thing that you know these two scenarios now. You know that there was a first person for this project.
Right.
You know, there were two other people before the project got to him.
Do you know one funny thing?
Wait.
You still have a scenario where you
Hold
didn't
on.
put out some boundaries
Wait,
and
hold on.
something happened.
I never put the boundaries as a matter of fact. I was paying 100%. You were aware. I was paying 100% to each of these people who didn't do the jobs well. And then I'm with someone who is saying, give me 70%. And I'm like, no, I paid 100.
Experiences.
Good. So you see,
Experiences.
it's my experience
Yeah.
that is now making me averse to a person who says I must pay money before you get the job done.
Exactly.
It is his experience that is
To
making him
say-
say, you will pay me
Well,
the money
you have a point
before I
too.
get the
That,
job
that
done.
balances it.
So
You understand?
this is you
That
even
balances
bleed
it.
another should.
No, you see, this is his boundary based on his
No, but I
experience.
Yes.
get.
And this is my boundary based on my experience.
Yeah.
Because on a normal day, I want to pay for this thing and not go back to it anymore.
Exactly.
But every time I did that, it ended in tears. Because Every time, nobody tells you how difficult it is to start up, but just have it at the back of your mind is very difficult.
Yeah.
Nobody, like, I was paying that. Nobody told me. It was when I started sharing with you guys that you were like, who
Why
pays
would you
100%
pay?
for
Actually,
anything?
Yeah.
You know, especially when it comes to handwork, creatives, and all of that.
Those are the
So
percentage.
this boundary now, because sorry to everybody who met me after those people. Because I have
Let
now
her
set,
be.
exactly, I have now set a boundary because of my experience.
Exactly.
I don't know what the person also has been through that made them have those boundaries.
Yeah,
But
I get
you
it.
see, I think the world would be a better place if we respect each other's boundaries.
Exactly.
What we now need to do is put healthy conditions in place to ensure that your boundaries are respected, my boundary is also respected.
Exactly.
But when you continue to be upset about a boundary that somebody sets,
Doesn't
you are
make sense.
questionable.
So
Exactly.
can I bring up something again?
Yeah, bring it up.
I think one of
Well,
the
Nen is the interviewer.
So we are listening.
so I was just thinking about everything, and you know, you spoke about the experience you had where you worked before and all, and I realized that one of the will I say things that stands against you know putting boundaries are fear. So fear of not wanting to hurt the next person, and then especially in scenarios where the person in question is way higher, because I mean for her situation, this was her boss. So I want us to also you know have the conversation as regards to setting boundaries, even you know for people, because I mean it's easier to set boundaries for people below you or even your level, although but you know when it comes to setting boundaries and making even the people above you understand that hey, I'm not doing this is not what I stand for. I feel like that's one. So you get to see people compromise now for the negative compromise, you know, because how will I start telling my boss no, how will I, you know, and then fear and all coming. So I think this is also something we should hit on.
Let me go there. And as big as that is, and it's very important, you know, the truth is we can also pay very keen attention to it, and that is where first your personal value comes up and it rubs off, right? But let's talk about company policies and you know what the organization stands for. If you're going to that organization and you know that all of these things the organization does it, and if it's against your boundary, your personal beliefs or values, but you are in that organization, the truth is you're already in the organization. They pay you, so it means that based on the policies and the agreement that already signed, you know, there are certain things that you might not want to put a boundary to because that is what the organization is all about. But if the organization doesn't have all of those as per boundaries, you know, and then there's that infusion or infiltration from the higher ups wanting to come to you, there are ways you actually decline from getting used. Or
That way, you are going to share the tips.
Hold your thoughts on that.
You're going
Let's
to
go
share.
on a very quick break.
Right.
When we get back, we'll keep up this conversation. Please stay with us. Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. It's still Girlfriends, Girls Hangouts right here on Rapid TV, and we're talking about vulnerability, access, boundaries. These are the conversations for today. And then happened to drop a bombshell, which Victor was about to address, which is basically setting boundaries for people that are way above you. How would you address that? Let's hear Victor speak and then.
All right, just to conclude on that,
Why
we
are you
just
guys
guess hang out with the boy, anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the guy. So yeah, just to conclude on that particular thought, right? I was giving you guys a scenario earlier on, and there are certain persons who work in some organizations, and they say that this organization, what they do here is against their personal beliefs and values, but they work in the organization.
Why are you there?
That's the problem now. You know, they are there and they are taking the salary from the organization, but they're not willing to do some of the things the organization is asking them for.
Can you just
They should fire you because
Let's take for instance.
you need to wait for them to fire you.
because you already is
Because
conflicting your boundaries.
you already compromised on that, on that particular boundary, on your boundaries, and therefore that opens you up, you know, for more boundaries to be broken down.
course.
You know, take for instance someone who works in a brewery factory or organization and says he doesn't drink, right? That's one. And because you don't drink, customers come, you don't want to sell the drink to the customers. right?
Is
Now
that
that
even a thing?
funny thing, it happens, right? Someone will say, you know, in those brewery firms sometimes, or in a, let's use a bar now, for instance, there's a mixture of both the alcoholic drinks and all of that. You know, and then I call, give me a bottle of beer, for instance, and then you're saying to me, I don't drink beer. I'm a Christian. I cannot drink beer.
Did they ask you to drink the beer?
No, no. Now for them, they are saying, this is my religious belief, and therefore I cannot even sell it to you. And then I ask a question, why are you now working here?
Yeah.
So that's the point I was trying to make earlier on. You're already there. So the organization requires that you sell these things. Well, we're not asking you to drink them. We're asking that you sell. But your religious belief or personal belief says, because I'm a Christian or because I believe in this,
I'm not the only one that feels like you shouldn't even be in a place
you're not supposed to be
against
there
your
at all.
Do you know the major problem
Right,
me I've seen with this whole religion thing?
I was taking it to religion, just quickly. So
yes, is it true? There's the marketplace.
Exactly.
There's the religion. I am a communications expert here. There's faith, there's value, there's reality.
Right.
What does your faith say? What does your value say? What is the reality of these two things, my faith and my value? This is what will help you make certain decisions. So, if already you don't drink alcohol and you don't want to sell alcohol because you don't drink alcohol, because your faith and value says it's not a good thing, you are in the wrong organization.
That's what I'm saying. What are you doing there?
You shouldn't even be there in the first place.
But
Because
you're exposing yourself.
Why do you
accept
an employment? Because their values, the value of the organization,
why would you even
aligns with you.
Why would you even apply?
Exactly.
Because you must have applied.
Even if you didn't apply.
Some persons want the money to come in at the end of the day.
You don't have boundaries.
Eat your cake and have it.
Do you know that you don't have boundaries?
Or
You don't.
If you,
or your boundaries
some
are
people have
shaky.
exactly weak boundaries.
Very weak.
Victor, if my boundary is that I will not go and walk at a nightclub, I won't go there.
Right.
Even when I'm broke. Because my boundaries already choose for me where I operate, how I operate, and when I operate.
Arguable.
So
because
anybody,
there are certain situations that pushes people to want to go
that means you have
there.
wait. See, I'm not.
In reality,
I'm not denying.
reality.
But I'm not denying the fact that you can compromise on your boundary. It is possible to compromise.
possible.
But now that you have
humans.
already compromised, why are you trying so hard to uphold what you have already compromised on? So it's just like, I don't want to be called a sinner, but I'm in the place where sinners are. You shouldn't be there.
In the first place.
Exactly. So I understand, and I feel like we have even deviated from the question that Nen asked, which is how to which is how to create boundaries or how to establish boundaries.
From your
or
bosses.
communicate
Personally,
to those higher.
what I have seen time and again, and I'm speaking from my own personal experience, is people always respect people with boundaries.
Okay.
Yeah.
They can dislike you. They can, what does this girl think she is? But people will always respect people with boundaries. Do you know why? Because now they know that if this person can be firm with this, then there's a tendency that they will not go back on this, they will not go back on that, they will not go back on this. That's the kind of person you want in your organization. People that have boundaries.
Right.
So if your boss now is telling you to do something that is against first your contract or your belief, discuss it with your boss. See, there are very, should I say, legitimate reasons sometimes to break boundaries. Instance, we all came here to speak as presenters, right? Now, just like what you were trying to say, that the organization you're working with, they don't just have presenters. They have reporters, they have cameramen, they have this. They have all of these things going on within this organization. Your boundaries are, look, this is what I want to do. But at the end of the day, what you want to do requires a whole lot of other things to get it done. It is unwise for you to now say, this is my boundary and I will stop here.
We come back to compromise.
Exactly. Because your boundaries can be negotiated, especially when it is not harmful to you. So I am a presenter. My boundary is, this is what I want to do. This is what the kind of portfolio I want to build for myself. What can make me a stellar presenter? Going out sometimes to report. The only way that becomes a problem is where it now infringes on my primary responsibility, which I want to find myself doing, which is this. So negotiating it with your boss is the thing to do, because there are languages of negotiation with your boss. There are languages you need to use to communicate your boundaries with your boss. It's not like your junior colleague or your colleague who you're telling to try. There also need to be languages. You need to be able to know how to speak to each person in an organization, because their responsibilities vary. So I don't think it's such a big deal. If you have boundaries, you have boundaries. And anybody who hates you for having boundaries is either a manipulator, because people that manipulate other people do not like boundaries. You know, people who don't have boundaries don't like people that have boundaries, because it's a reflection of who they are not, and people don't like to be told what they are not.
Exactly.
So I don't think it's such a big deal. Your boundaries are your boundaries. Your boundaries help you know how to function. And the organization now knows your strengths because of some of those boundaries you have put in place.
Exactly.
So I don't think it should be such a big deal.
I think for those that actually have the weekend or week boundaries, as it is, we'll see people actually do the eye service kind of work delivery, which is actually another challenge that we'll see happen. Some of these individuals will say to you, we have boundaries, but the boundaries are weak. So for instance, your boss asks you to do something, you know that you don't want to do this, but because I'm Oga's make a drum, you know, you just go, Oga, no wahala. But if you're able to communicate the first time, just like you're trying to say, you know, with the tone, the right tone, with the right words, you know, you see that there's going to be an adjustment. You might never be asked to do that thing again. But if once you've agreed, based on the fact that you want to do ballet, you know, for your boss, and sometimes people do these things out of fear, not even respect.
Which is why I said yes, fear.
Yeah, people do it out of fear, you know, and that's because
fear of not losing their job.
Exactly, that's because in this part of the world, sometimes we look at our bosses as our gods, and it's a very disturbing issue that we think that as employees, right, that we don't have rights, or our rights are not being upheld. That's why a lot of persons actually think, or people they're not even so aware of the right that they have. So they think that every word, every instruction given by the boss has to be like the final order, even though you're not working in a military organization.
Well, I don't know.
Some
It's
people
this
have
culture
that.
of eye service, and I don't even know who sold it
to
a lot
us,
of people.
basically. But we've seen that ruin people. We've seen that actually deviate people rather from the boundaries that they've set for themselves, because they're not bold enough to even communicate these boundaries. So you see them go out there and they begin to murmur, you know, to themselves and to maybe colleagues of the same ranks with them. But coming out to speak to the person or to your boss becomes a problem of fear.
So, do you know what I've learned? I've learned that competence and excellence takes away a certain level of fear from a person.
Which is why I wanted to say, because I mean, when you're setting when you're setting certain level of boundaries, and when it comes to value,
And
you're
delivery.
not particularly delivering or giving
So
value.
what's the use of that
The
boundary?
boundaries don't make sense.
Exactly.
at a certain point.
So most people fear because they are not competent enough, or they are not excellent in their jobs.
Sometimes very low self-esteem.
Low self-esteem is what makes
That's a good
people
one.
try to overcompensate. But boundaries are very important. Boundaries are very important, and not unrealistic and unhealthy boundaries.
Which is another angle.
Because how are you saying that you are not good at something?
Yeah.
Then someone is trying to draw your attention to the fact that, look, you're not good at this, you need to do it. And then you say, I don't like being told what to do.
Exactly.
These are my personal
You
boundaries.
shouldn't.
Right.
You don't know what boundaries are. Because you're saying, these are my personal boundaries. I don't like anybody telling me what to do. Then do your job well.
Right.
Boundaries can be protected. But the easiest way for people to uphold your boundaries is the kind of value, the quality of value
delivery.
that you deliver as well. So these days, I know people have abused boundaries. This is my pet. I don't want you to talk.
Let me take it a bit further. So now boundaries, right? I don't know. I'm the one asking.
Yes,
but
ask us.
Still in line with the question I asked. You and I know that the people that are the most, when it comes to breaking your boundaries and exit, family members, and there's what we call see finish. Especially the parents.
Right.
I mean, who are you? The person I carried you for 9 months. I
Mom,
greeted you. I carried you. Will not come and tell me that are you? So let's have that conversation. Over to you, because it's almost difficult to set these boundaries.
That's African
with
parenting most times.
The people who have seen you in your most vulnerable state, and then you're coming to try to be a big girl and all put together, and you're saying, hey. this doesn't work for me.
Right.
This doesn't. And most of the time, those conversations don't go well.
Yeah.
They don't go well.
Have you tried the ones where you tell your siblings not to take your clothes?
That even,
It never works.
Yeah.
It never
Have you
works.
tried one where you tell them not to take what you put in the fridge?
Oh dear. But then I end up seeing my clothes on the WhatsApp status.
They block you. They even block you. What are you saying? They block you and post
So how
it.
do you want to set boundaries with this set of people?
just a national confession or even global confession.
You're that person,
You know,
right?
my sister might be looking for this wristwatch right now.
The last born. So it's this guy.
I recall.
They need to
But I
set
do know.
boundaries for
For
him.
me,
He's
no,
the one they need to set boundaries.
Well, I know quite a lot about boundaries, and one of the things is that my elder brothers must have to deliver when I call on them.
Let's skip this guy. Let's skip this guy.
But
Let's skip this guy. He can't relate.
I can't relate anyway because I'm an uncle as well. But this is this is the point, right? You know, we had a conversation earlier on when we talked about the fact that parenting has become such an issue in this part of the world, and a lot of times people kind of mix out on excellent kind of parenting. That some parents actually think that because they gave birth to you, that you will never grow.
Exactly.
You know, but it's important that they have that open mind. Movies, for instance, you know, when you watch movies kind of show you cultures of how these people live within their culture. For Niger, mama go open door, enter. Pops go open door, enter. Even as an adult, without actually knocking on your door. But if you watch, you know, maybe Hollywood movies, you see that before parents will get into their rooms, they will knock. And then they will expect you to say, come in, before they come in. Those are boundaries. Those are healthy boundaries. That is a parent getting to realize that my child has grown to that point where he or she needs a level of privacy. And therefore, for me to actually be able to get in, I need that invitation to come in. And sometimes parents lose out on the invitation because they've lost out on communication strategies with their children, right? While their children were growing up. And so where these things actually, where we miss it is even from when they were still children, kids, toddlers, and all of that. You miss out on having these communications and conversations with them. And I think sometimes trying to have that healthy conversation.
Does it also have boundaries?
No.
Okay.
I'm trying to say in teaching them, you know, because there are sometimes where parents are so very rigid and strict, and so children are kind of, we don't want to have this conversation anymore. But whilst they grow, having a healthy conversation now becomes also a problem because of, you know, remember the style of parenting that's been there already. But once you have an open kind of parenting, you know, you get to realize that we can have that conversation and say, come on, mom, come on, dad, I've grown to that.
I mean, this is Nigeria.
Yeah, it's Nigeria.
How many
and then
parents actually apply that
we do have some parents that applies that.
Some.
You know,
Now,
some
I think
parents
that
that
it comes
don't.
with. I think that it also comes with the age of the child.
yes.
Most definitely.
Now we're talking about
because-
adult now. You're referring to
yes,
being adult,
yes,
right?
Yes,
course.
because your parents also grew up while you grew up.
Exactly.
So they don't stop growing when they become your parents.
Yeah.
Which means they also still unlearn what they have learned and start to learn new things. When it comes to parenting, one thing I always will say is that you always need to give grace to your parents.
Yes.
Because they are also trying. There's no manual to becoming parents.
Yeah.
So they are all also just trying to learn, you know, unlearn the things they saw with their parents
Yeah.
and trying to be better. So that's why I just encourage somehow patience with your parents
Very
because they don't
important.
know better. I might not be able to entirely relate to this. In fact, if it is boundaries for sisters, don't worry about it. Or for siblings, don't worry about it.
It's
That
still a
one
battle being
is
fought.
still a battle being fought, and I don't think anybody is going to win the
Don't win
battle.
that battle.
But when it comes to parents, I think that your upbringing also plays a very vital role in that.
Yeah.
You cannot bring up vocal and expressive children and expect them not to talk to you about their boundaries.
Of course not.
So where I come from, it's all vocal and expressive. And
Expressive.
it's like, I don't like this. It happens. In fact, at the end of the year, there is a session where everyone gets to say, I don't like how this was done this year.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be done again. Ever since I was little, that's how it happened where I'm coming from. So there's always talking. Will it be respected? No. But will it be respected? It might not all
Yeah.
the time. Will it be respected? Because they will tell you this one, cancel it.
We'll continue.
Yes, or you say, when I go out, and you keep it was such a big deal for me. You keep calling me all the time. My phone is ringing. Everyone is thinking, why is your phone ringing? And it's you guys who keep calling me. I'm not missing. I'm coming back and they're like, we'll do it again.
We'll do
this
more.
time.
Exactly. Because
You
you're
know,
their child, protecting them.
You see that, but it's important for you if you see that in your home and it's not something that you like. Now you know about it. You can correct it in your own home,
Yeah.
where there is a feedback system. It's so important, especially if you are raising. Okay, let me not make it about gender.
Yeah.
But if you are raising children, it's important for you to let them be expressive and give you feedback. Can you imagine today somebody committed suicide because they used their 600,000 naira
to play
school
bet.
fees to play bet and the game cut?
You used to use the language.
The game cut. So
Ticket cut.
ticket cut. How do I go back to my parents? And I
Yeah.
was telling Victor this morning, it's such a reflection of the kind of parenting
we
that's
have.
the kind of parenting that existed between child and parents. Because what is so terrible that I cannot go back home and tell
You know.
my parents?
Okay, so let me
So-
to add to this. I think one of the things we've established is communication, which is very important. So in establishing boundaries, you can't assume that the person knows
Exactly.
that these are your boundaries.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So communicate. For Nigerian parents, I can't particularly say. Well, for some people, it's a battle still, you know, they're still fighting. But one of the things I've noticed, just as you said, I mean, we're talking about when you're an adult. There's a certain level of respect parents have when you sit both of them down and say, Mommy, Daddy, in
I
a
don't
very
like this."
respectful way. Mommy, Daddy, this, I don't like.
Right.
Please, let us not do this. Let us not do this. Thank you very much. So I feel the mode of communication,
It
and you know,
matters.
if you want to have this conversation of boundaries, it would run into hours because it runs down into even you starting your own home. We've seen situations where a man is married and the mother still wants to, you know, infuse into what's going on,
Exactly.
and then you have to establish that boundary as to Mama. You
I
are
don't
my
marry
mom,
you.
but this is my, you know, so these are still all
So who
boundaries.
to
and all.
sit in front seat?
There was a skit like that. I'll tell you guys. Okay.
So I feel having those honest conversations are really important.
Yeah.
Some would not scale through.
Yeah.
You have to keep establishing it
Keep
over and
talking
over.
until you're
But
being
some
heard.
would, which I think also cut across to even the office environment we spoke about.
Yeah.
Speak about it, communicate
Don't
it. Don't
assume.
assume that, you
Exactly.
know. I will be fine.
And,
Yeah,
final,
and
final thoughts?
well, we've dished out the final thoughts, but I mean, this is where we will wrap it up, and it's important. You said something very important, which is if you cannot communicate about your boundaries, I mean, how does the other person
They
know?
wouldn't
The
know.
person can
Experience.
keep doing something or keep saying something until you draw their attention to it. Look, I don't like it. Let's not do it like this. There are better ways to do it.
That's
But
right.
yes, we're wrapping it up here now, and it was an amazing conversation, I can say. Don't you guys think so?
We enjoyed ourselves, didn't
Yeah,
we?
we
Definitely enjoyed ourselves. And we might be revisiting this conversation about boundaries because we left the other part unsaid. The part about friendship boundaries. You know,
Yeah.
we might revisit that conversation sometime again on the Girls Hangout. But thank you so much, guys, for being here today. You were my guests. But thank you to everyone who is at the other side watching. I hope you can be a part of this conversation, and you definitely can by just going to our YouTube page at Official Rappy TV, clicking the link and watching the video yet again. Share to your friends and family. Let us know what you think about boundaries in the comments as well. We have social media pages that is quite active on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, and on X. X and Twitter is the same.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
TikTok. Anyways, you can be a part. Just like, subscribe, share. Just let us know what you think as well on these pages. Our website, www.rbnradiotv.com, lets you connect with us anywhere in the world. Once again, my name is Martha Alu. Have an amazing day. We will see you tomorrow.